Welcome to the series of videos on presentation skills for Business 101 section leaders. This work in this series of videos you'll be seeing on presentation skills is based on the work of Kendall Zoller and Claudette Landry, the choreography of presenting, the 7 essential abilities of effective presenters. We hope that you'll enjoy it, and we hope that your skills will improve from watching the information here and practicing, 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 and practicing.
As we think about the 7 essential abilities of effective presenters, we're going to look at build and sustaining rapport in this particular segment. Rapport has a very distinct definition. When it is high, participants are cognitively receptive and therefore open to considering new understandings that challenge their current way of thinking. Knowing how to build or establish rapport, break rapport, and re-establish rapport again are critical in a learning environment.
So we're going to deal with rapport. The reason rapport is important is because if we want people to be receptive to our ideas, the suggestion is it's really good to be in rapport first. Because rapport is a psychological state where the pathways of communication are open between both the speaker and the listener. And there are nonverbal patterns that represent rapport. Posture, tonality of voice, how the other person gestures, and having the same use of language. Interestingly enough, are you both breathing the same way? Meaning relaxed or tight, whatever it is. When people start breathing the same way, that's also an element of rapport.
There are several patterns to build and sustain rapport. The first is to match tone. There you can vary your modulation, lift and lower your tone at the end of each phrase, just like the other person does that you're talking with. The other is to match gestures. Here it's best to mirror when listening. Use similar gestures that the other person uses when they speak. And mirroring means that you don't repeat the pattern exactly when they do it, but you wait about 4, 5, or 6 seconds before you match the gesture when speaking to that other person. The other elements of rapport include high expectations. There you're visually listening to the other person by maintaining direct eye contact. You're having low breathing, and in general you're head nodding and letting the person know you're continuing in the conversation with them. The fourth element is to match breathing. There, when listening, it's nice to match the breathing of the speaker and shifting that person, if need be, from higher levels of breathing to lower levels of breathing. The idea is to slowly reduce your rate of speech during your exhales, and that can calm another person when you're talking with them. Another application is that when you're within the content, if it fits within your personality, go ahead and insert a joke. Humor always gets a group to laugh, and laughing requires people to breathe.
One of the ways that I establish rapport is simply walking up to a student that I don't know and having a conversation, learning about who the student is, where are you from, talk to me about your brothers and sisters. Do you have other interests other than business, and if so, what are they?
What I think about with rapport as an extension to that is to go to the behavioral side. Behaviorally, what does it look like to be in rapport? Rapport looks like two people that are in sequence, almost like synchronized swimmers or synchronized dance. When one person moves, the other person moves with them, and when they move, the other person moves with them. That's the nonverbal patterns that we could recognize for rapport.
When looking at rapport, a couple of questions to ask yourself. Are you in rapport with a group? Are they matching your behavior? If they follow you, then you're in rapport, so just keep going. If, on the other hand, they didn't follow you, then just do something else, because whatever you are doing is not working. So what about those people in a group who are not with the rest of the group? For example, those who aren't listening? Well, you can gain their attention by interrupting yourself or changing location. Once you get attention, look at them. Keep your palm up, tilt your head, and smile. This brings them back into the class. How can rapport be made and broken? Well, in the next scene, watch carefully and see if you can identify rapport being made and rapport being broken.
Tell me about something about your job, about life for you that, I don't know, brings a passion.
Being an associate dean brings me passion. I love what I do. I love the students. I have always had a passion for helping students, from being an RA when I was in college to in the master's program, working with students in the counseling aspects and minority students who were transitioning into New York University. I just love helping students develop, period.
So you like, in a sense, a broad range of students, being able to help all.
Absolutely, all kinds of students. Because each student brings a different background and different flavors and different needs. And I want to make sure that I have enough resources to make sure that if I don't meet their need, I know where they can go to get their needs met.
Where do you think that passion came from?
I think it came from my father, who instilled in me a sense of always giving back to others and always taking a step back and trying to look at the other person's need and feelings and trying to assess and react to those in a positive way.
Okay, great. So, what did you just notice? We'll just go with the behavior.
I'm just sitting there following you.
Yeah, you did. And it's on camera. So you followed. Suddenly it was over here. What's going on inside your head just for a minute?
Initially, I didn't know what you were doing. I thought that maybe you were going to take the pen and write down the notes of what I was saying. So I wasn't at a point of, okay, you know what, it's getting kind of offensive yet.
And the reason to show that is because rapport, at least by definition, when we get into like a textbook definition of rapport is, it's ephemeral. It's in the moment. And rapport is a state when the pathways of communication are absolutely open between two people. And not only are they open, but whoever is speaking is being perceived to be listened to, and whoever is listening is being perceived that they're part of that communication and part of that sharing. That's when rapport is powerful. The nonverbal patterns to break it, like breaking eye contact or turning away, they're instant. They're instant, and you felt it instantly. One place where this can be very valuable and applicable to student leaders is up in front of the class. And both as a group and then even one-on-one in the office, one-on-one in the hallway, the idea is that because rapport is this ephemeral state that can be lost in just a wisp of wind, we want to be conscious and mindful of what our patterns are and how we are being perceived to be attentive to the student. So for instance, when a student is talking in class, they might be sharing an idea, they might be asking a question. By breathing low and relaxed, and by looking at that student and, do everything else that's natural, gesture and nod your head and all of those factors, they contribute to that sense of rapport. Where on the other hand, if you're in the class and a student is speaking and you think, oh, I've got to get that piece of paper ready because I know where I'm going to go next, and you're listening to that student and you look away just to grab that piece of paper, that can be enough for a student to perceive that you've broken rapport. They're no longer being listened to. And it's not an intention to have broken that rapport and not listened. In fact, you may still be listening. However, the perception of the student may be very different from that. So by having awareness of what these patterns are, we can be more congruent with our intention of having rapport and the behaviors that support it.
So rapport, when done well, leads to trust. And trust requires loyalty, honesty, and integrity. So by continuing to build and establish rapport, you can help support the foundation of trust in your organization. And social intelligence is grounded in rapport and empathy, and both are dependent on nonverbal signals. So for more information, take a look at the choreography of presenting in the library. If you're interested in some academic works, you can take a look at the books that include The Elusive Obvious by Michael Grender, the book Gesture, How Our Hands Help Us Think by Susan Goldenmeadow, and Daniel Goleman's Social Intelligence, as well as some nonverbal communication across disciplines by Fernando Poyados.